Leaders in tech are burning out at an absurd rate. Ctrl+Alt+Delete with Lisa Duerre is a no BS conversation with one of the top female executives who spent over 25 years in Silicon Valley. If you're suffering from the always-on, never good enough, will replace you today machine called the tech space, this show's for you. Here's Lisa.
Hey everybody, I wanted to come to you today because for the last 2 weeks I've held multiple executive coaching sessions and 2 training webinars with cohorts, and this conversation continues to show up and weave into the different discussions I'm having, and I think it's worth bringing to you today because the reality is people are tired. People are super tired. Leaders are tired, employees are tired, families are tired. And what's happening in the conversations I'm having with my clients is they're trying to figure out where this breakdown in communication is happening. People are missing some of the communication key points. In some cases, people are off working on deliverables they think they're supposed to be doing, and that's not even what was intended. And so what's been happening is I've been coaching and guiding leaders in tech specifically on how to increase your leadership effectiveness as a leader in tech in these unprecedented times. So I'm here today to share with you 3 things you can do to increase your effectiveness while you're remote with the world coming down on you and everything happening for your teams too. So let me start with just a little bit of context for you and say what worked for you when you were in the office and what worked for you pre-pandemic and what worked for you before all of the racial unrest that is going on and all of this energy that's happening. Those things aren't working right now. And I think we need to call that first. I think it's very important to just know that things have changed. And you're going to have to, as the leader, get really clear and very intentional with how you want to be received as a leader right now and the impact you want to have in this time. I'm Lisa Duerre. I am the CEO and co-founder of RLD Group, and I help leaders in tech get kick-ass results at work, build and lead high-performing teams, and be present for the moments that matter. And so what I'm going to share with you today actually pulls through in every one of the things that I work on. And I've broken it down. I even have some notes here so I don't miss one thing that's important. And what I'd like to say to you right off the bat is how lucky is your team? How lucky is your team that they work for you and that you're watching this right now so that you can be an even better communicator to those that you are leading. The first thing to know right away, you're going to need to be more explicit and direct and intentional than you've ever been before. And explicit, direct, and intentional are important because people aren't in the room with you. It's not easy for them to circle back to your desk and ask you a follow-up question or watch your mannerisms as you finish a meeting, perhaps even run into you in the parking lot. What's happening now is people are seeing you in very micro moments, very focused moments in your meetings and such, and they're not able to read the larger things going on. So you're going to need to be very direct and explicit and intentional. So the first thing I want to say with this around intentions is, what do you want your team to know, do, and have in each of the conversations that you're having? It's very important, and I wrote my notes here, so I don't want to miss this. It's really important for you to know that ahead of time. This isn't something you can wing right now and just make it up on the fly. Even 5 minutes before your meetings, your team meetings or your one-on-ones, think about your intention. What is it? What is the goal of the meeting, and what is it you want your employee to know, to do, to have, and to even feel? Okay. In that, you're going to need to guide that conversation, and it's not going to be as simple as just getting straight to the point. Now, I know we're all busy and everyone's in back-to-back meetings. I get it, and there's constant interruptions, but it's super important that you are intentional with your time and that you allow and buffer time at the begin and the end to actually connect and close out and make sure that what you're saying is being heard and that what they're stating to you and sharing with you is all that needs to be said. So one way to do that is to close the session in a way that you can actually just lean into them and say, okay, with everything we've talked about, here's what I see the next steps are. These are the things you're going to do. These are the things I'm going to do. What am I missing? and then let the person tell you if you've missed anything. Closing it in that way is actually very collaborative and allows them to see that you are engaged as well, not just, okay, are we good? All right, talk to you later. Like really circling back and doing that step. The second thing to say and ask them is, what concerns do you have with this plan? What concerns do you have with this timeline? What concerns do you have with the week ahead? Leaning into them and letting them open up in that space is going to create more psychological safety so they can feel seen and heard and actually share with you what's going on with them. Asking, do you have any concerns, is a totally different ballgame. That's a question that's a yes or a no. What concerns do you have is leaning into the person and allowing them to think and be able to share with you what's really on their mind. So first thing that you want to do is be intentional. All right. The second thing, you're going to hate me for this one probably because there's so much going on, but you'll actually end up loving me for it once you do it. What I want to say, the second step is to slow down to speed up. So just as I mentioned earlier, to be intentional with what you're doing with each of those meetings, slowing down to speed up is really about being in the moment with the employees or the teams. It's being present. It's listening through an active lens, not listening to talk or listening to check the box off. Now, that's not always easy. Stress is really high. There's a lot going on. So what tips and tricks do you have already in your toolbox that will help you slow down to speed up? For me, it's water. It's the simplest thing, but I have my water and I will take a sip of it, and it just causes me a moment to pause and actually think about what I just heard and then give myself the chance to make sure I'm listening rather than just speaking. There's my example for you. So intentional, be intentional with the reason for the meeting, how you want people to feel, what you want them to know, and what you want to take place. The second thing is slow down to speed up, meaning really active listen. And don't cram your meeting so full that you run out of time for the connection. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the clock. Make sure you're clear with the people you're working with, how much time there is for that meeting, and allow the space, allow the pace. Organize it in a way that people can actually connect with you. And then the third step is really be curious and explicit with your curiosity. You're going to need to ask more questions. You cannot make assumptions right now because you can't read the entire environment while you are remote. So asking the questions is going to be very essential. Now, this is not just what concerns do you have. This is, how are you? What's on your mind right now? How is your family? Is the news impacting you? How did you sleep last night? It's really looking at the person and getting really clear about what their life is like and what's going on for them as far as their whole experience, not just work. Now, I understand there's a lot of leaders that don't want to get too deep in that because they're worried about, where are you crossing the line? But making sure that your intention is clearly stated, like, hey, I'm really wanting to make sure you're in a good place. I want to make sure you have what you need. How are you doing? What's in the way of your productivity? I have a few clients right now that their chairs at home are so uncomfortable, they're actually having backaches. And I've said to them, why don't you talk to your manager, your VP, your finance person, and see if there's a budget for chairs. And the mindset is like, I don't want to ask for anything right now. Well, the reality is you're in pain. You're not being productive because you're in pain. And if you don't tell it and someone's not asking you how you are, who can fix anything, right? And so that's just the simplest thing. Noise canceling headsets. Some people are getting, what is the word I'm looking for? Some people are even getting like stipends or small cash advances, if you will, for exercise equipment at home, right? So I know that not everyone's work environment's the same. I understand people are out of work in many areas. There are furloughs going on. I'm not suggesting that you go ask for something that's extraordinarily out of the realm, but if there's something in the way and inhibiting your productivity and you don't talk about it, that's on you. So as a leader, what you want to do is make sure to invite someone into that conversation and find out what's happening for them. The second part of really, really slowing down and being curious is looking for your own blind spots. Now, many times leaders, including myself, we think everybody thinks like we do. That's human nature, right? But the reality is not everybody does. And the only way that I've found right now that's really worked in a virtual setting is to be curious and to create the opportunity for people to share with you, right? So you can ask someone, what do you think I'm missing in this situation? What am I not seeing? Where do you feel we have risks? What is something I could be doing better that will make situations better for you? And really just inviting people into that conversation makes such a difference to improve your leadership and communication effectiveness. Now, this has benefits way beyond what we're talking about. This creates psychological safety and connection. This drives employee engagement. This drives job satisfaction and increases results. So let me go ahead and summarize right now what I've talked about and give you those 3 tips again. I know they're really important, and I want to make sure you can digest everything I've said. And my call to action to you is, what one thing will you do today that we've discussed here so that you can increase your impact and your connection with your employees? Are you going to be more explicit and direct overall? Yes, right? And now here's your 3 tips to choose from. This is about being more intentional upfront, slowing down to speed up, and being very curious and asking about needs and your own blind spots. So comment below, what are you going to do today to increase your effectiveness beyond being explicit and direct? Are you going to be more intentional? Are you going to slow down to speed up? Or are you going to be more curious and invite people in to giving you feedback? I'd love to know. Have a great day. Take good care, and I'll be back with more tips soon.
That was great content, but let's be honest. If you don't get the support you need and start making changes in your life and work as a leader in tech, you can expect regret and burnout in the near future. Lisa can help you get kick-ass results at work without burning out, so you can be present for the moments that matter to you and your loved ones. Take your first step at rebootwithlisa.com.